Hi, we're here.
Good Friday morning-ish, near noon.
It's a little October-y out there.
Ugh. Yes, and I'm supposed to be spending it outside camping with the scouts. So I will be the designated. Oh, I'll go get that.
Good idea.
To have to go home or go to the store and warm up.
Yes. Sit in the car for a minute.
Luckily, it's just down the street, so not a big deal.
All right. So what are we talking about today, Danielle?
We're talking about getting to the closing table. So I feel like we've talked a lot about, how to get pre-approvals and how to, the search process and things that happen right afterwards as far as inspections and getting attorneys and things that's going on. But I think I'd like to start from appraisal to the closing table, because sometimes that can be a few weeks. And it seems like nothing's going on, and there's a lot going on, and it's very important for people to know exactly what's going on, because if anybody's visited our Facebook pages today, our today's topic was about a woman who made a really small purchase, and it changed her ability to buy a house. And it didn't even occur to her that, a couple days before closing would have changed everything. So I thought that it would be good for us to talk about that.
And a lot of people, we procrastinators, and I'm not, I'm not including you in that, me procrastinators. This is never a problem. But for the planners want to move in on day one and have their new home set and ready to go. So they want to have contractors lined up. They want to have furniture purchased, appliances maybe. Well, contractors tend to want deposits if you're going to hire them.
Correct.
Furniture, same thing. You may not pay for all of it until delivery. Maybe you even think, oh, I can save 15% if I get a credit line with the furniture company.
Correct.
All of these things that might be typically normal any other time could kill your deal. Correct. We have heard, this hasn't happened to our clients because they're really smart, but we have heard of transactions that have been lost completely, canceled. You don't get a house for that couch you bought. Now you have to go get a storage facility to put it in.
Correct. And we've had some near misses. So basically what happens is we have the appraisal, right? The appraisal happens a couple weeks, week 2 after we get out of AI. And that is a big hurdle, right? We have to make sure that the house values for the loan. And that's been a big issue, probably more in the last year and a half, when we've seen such an increase in prices, that there are sometimes appraisal issues. And then you have the extra layers, depending on if it's a VA loan or a FHA loan, that sometimes have extra things that extra requirements that need to be done by the sellers in order for the home to be ready and considered something that alone can happen. So once that hurdle is done now, what happens is the appraisal comes in and it goes to underwriting. So that's the lender's kind of background checkers, right? They go through, they confirm employment. So it's very, very important that if there's a job you hate, you hold on tight until it's no longer an issue, right? You can get a very great job a month after you close, and make sure that you can still pay your mortgage. But as far as that goes, you want to make sure that you keep your job until the very, very end, until after closing. I've heard a story of somebody chit-chatting at the closing table, talking about quitting their job that morning. The lender took the money back.
Wow.
So job security, try to keep it as secure as you possibly can. Obviously things happen that nobody can control. But
and don't think that you're going to buy a car and your lender's not going to find out.
Correct.
Don't think that once you get that pre-approval, they're done with checking your credit. There are times when it gets checked at the closing table.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, and it's big purchases and small purchases. As I was saying, we have a Facebook post. A girl bought a can of paint at Home Depot. And she could have paid cash for it. She could have, but they asked, would you like to open up a credit card? You can get an extra 15%. And she was thinking of all the things that she's going to be doing once she closes on her house. And it was a credit pull. It was additional credit line. And it affected everything. And she showed the receipt. It was $7.53 instead of $9. Something like that. Very close. Wow. For $1.50, she lost her house.
Yeah.
On something she clearly could have paid cash for. So that's, and that's part of our jobs. I know a lot of people think that it's, opening up doors and, maybe getting the contract, together and getting it. But we need to help step by step guide you through the process. And this is one of them.
And the lender too. So we talk all the time about how important a good lender is. And this is exactly where, quite frankly, the lender failed in this situation to properly educate the buyer on exactly what that would mean. So sometimes buyers can be, kind of overwhelmed with all the information they get, but this is something that a good lender is going to make very, very sure every buyer understands.
But I think that even that, people go, okay, yes, I won't buy furniture. Okay, yes, I won't. And they're thinking that it's several $1,000s.
Yes.
On their credit that's going to affect them. And it's not. There's a lot of different details. So yes. Those underwriters are there. They're confirming jobs. They're confirming money going in and out of your account. We have to very much, and there's jobs obviously that are tips and you have kind of extra cash income that hopefully your lender and the underwriters already have, documented over the course of, while you've been working with them, and know that every couple weeks or week or whatever, that there might be, some cash being deposited. But if your brother, your parents, whatever, give you several $100s a couple days before closing as a gift, as just because they owed you.
Your brother says, "Hey, remember that $1,000 you lent me? I finally got enough to pay you back. Here you go."
Right. All of that sends up red flags. So that's going to add extra work to getting to that closing table. You're going to have to explain where it came from, because they're worried about gifts. They're worried about loans. They're worried about proving that that you're not just affording it because of these kind of short-term one-offs, and that month after month you'll be able to actually afford that.
Yeah, and if money comes from a family member, typically it needs to, and this is something a lender can clarify, but it needs to be accompanied by a gift letter saying this is a gift, not a loan. The reason for that is if they say we'll lend you this money based on what we see as your ability to pay it back, and then you have another loan that you're paying at the same time, that changes your ability to pay it back. I think the most important thing is it doesn't matter what you think matters. It doesn't matter what you think is reasonable or normal or perfectly understandable. The lenders have rules. Many of those rules come from the federal government.
Correct.
Lots of people try to hide money in mortgages. So many of the federal government's laws are to avoid fraud, right? Then sometimes state might have specific laws regarding various parts of this. And then each lender is going to have their own rules that they have to work by. And those are not typically changeable, especially the federal laws. Those are ones that nobody can do anything about. So sometimes people shrug and say, it's not that big a deal. It's a can of paint, for God's sake, right?
Correct.
No, it's a line of credit that you opened.
Right.
That makes you ineligible for a mortgage.
Correct. Correct. It affects your credit score, and then, or your, debt to income ratio sometimes, or line of credit to ratios and things like that. It's not secret, but it's also extremely complicated, and it's just best to make sure that you and your lender and and us are in the loop on things like this. And so this is just one of those things that we wanted everybody to make sure that, even though it seems like we're sitting there twiddling our thumbs just waiting for that clear to close, there's a big the clear to close means something. It means things have been going on in the background that you're not aware of in happening to get to that clear to close. So this
and
is
clear to close is also not irrevocable, as we've said.
Correct.
They will continue to check up until the moment of closing. So
Correct.
Just because you get that pre-approval does not mean you have an approval. And just because you get that clear to close does not mean that nothing can screw that up.
Correct. Absolutely.
So listen to your agent and listen to your lender and choose a lender who's going to actually be there next to you, holding your hand through the process. That's one of the reasons we stress that and why it's so important.
Absolutely. So that's just something to consider, and to let you know that when we're kind of giving you updates in those kind of weeks between, that everything's going good. They haven't found anything. I mean, when we say there's no news is good news in this section, often. And so, as long as they're moving forward and the lenders are giving us a little bit of update, okay, we got this, it's under here, they're doing a couple things, that's good. And we want to keep hearing that until we get to that clear to close. And then,
and this is not underwriting is not a 15-minute job. So there's a lot of things that they need to check and recheck. They need to wait for things to clear. They need to wait for things to go through. They need to wait for things to be reported, another credit cycle. There's all sorts of criteria that they need to follow. They don't just look over your application and say looks good.
Yes, run a couple calculations and go, okay, it's done.
Yeah.
So
it's very complicated, and quite frankly, it should be. They're lending you hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Correct.
It shouldn't be easy. If somebody tells you that it is, they're not telling you the truth.
Or they're saving you from stress.
Yeah.
Which we try to do, right? But that's why we want to be straightforward right now, is to say, like, these are the things that you
But I'm addressing some of the advertising that makes it seem like it's easy, or that it ought to be easy. It shouldn't be easy. It's not easy. It's a complicated process. You want it to be a complicated process. It's important.
Yes, home buying it should never be automated. As much as everybody would like it to be, there's just so much that needs to go on and so much to consider that play a role that, even stuff like this, right? What I'm saying, a $9 can of paint that's why you need somebody to kind of help it. That's why we're here to help you each step of the way, literally each step.
Yes.
Not just go, okay, let's wait until the closing table. So there is things going on, and we are busy, and we are, checking in on things, even though it seems like all the heavy lifting is gone. It's not necessarily the case.
Yeah.
So,
and that doesn't even address everything that's going on with the title. So that's a whole other broadcast. But
yes, that is going on too. So that's
there's a lot happening during that time.
Yes. So it's just hands off for you as a buyer or seller, really. So anyway, this has been Keeping the Real in Real Estate. We never started with that.
We didn't. Ruth Sheehan and Danielle Tully.
Hey, we can end like that. It's okay.
We can.
So enjoy your weekend. It's supposedly supposed to be sunny tomorrow. So maybe we can enjoy a little bit of sunshine on our faces.
All right.
Running around. So.
Happy October.
Take care. See you next Friday.
See ya.